All right, so we're going to continue right where we left off, and if you guys remember, we'd set up the menu with just one little menu option over here, and we'll add to that later, but let's move on to our Planet Core page. So one of the first things we'll do is duplicate out this file, just to make things a little bit easier. We don't have to create a new one. We can just duplicate it, and let's give it a name of Planet Core. And by the way, in between videos, I'll end up copying stuff for our kind of main iPad version of the book to the iPhone one, so you guys don't have to watch me kind of, slug through that. All right, so once we've done that, let's just go ahead and delete out everything that's on here. This is going to be more of a space type page, or at least have a star background. So let's go ahead and make the scene just a nice dark black background, and then to actually get this page, we do need to go over here to our property list, and we've got our menu page that we left off with. And if you remember, in our elements we had our Planet Core button, which should now go to what? Planet Core, right? So instead of just going back to the cover page like we had at the end of the video, go to Planet Core, which also means that we need to make a matching or corresponding entry in the Pages dictionary for this. As usual, I like to copy and paste a bunch of things. So here we go. We're just going to copy out our menu from before, put in here Planet Core, and that name is of course going to match the scene file over here. Unfold this, and let's get rid of what we don't need. We don't need that. We don't need that. And I believe there's just nothing else. Oh yeah, there are events in here, so let's get rid of those. And all right, I think we're pretty much back to basics with this. But if we were to run this right now, we would end up at our Planet Core page, which of course has nothing on it. So let's change that. And between the videos, I did import in some new assets for us to use. I just dropped a couple of more files into our assets catalog, and that is the star background and the Planet Core, which we will manipulate. One of the things we're going to do in this video is rotate that around. I'm just going to texture this while I'm talking, and then we just give people something kind of fun to do with the planet. It's a nice circle, so it's a good thing that it's a easy one to kind of just rotate, and it kind of stays in place but spins. And then we're also going to put in some text that people can change, and the next time they open up the book, that whatever they've entered in there will still be there. So and I kind of want that to be a theme for this entire book. Parents can essentially kind of craft the story. We'll write something as dumb as possible, and then they can either make it dumber or improve upon it. All right, so we've got our stars back there. Let's just call these stars. If we did want to interact with it, of course, we're going to put a custom class in there of element. And then let's drag out another one. This is going to be at a Z position higher than our star background, so let's be sure that that is the case by putting in a Z position of 10. And then no, we don't want stars. We want Planet Core. There we go. Put it right there. And let's name this Planet Core. There we go. And again, this is definitely something that I want to interact with. So that's got the custom class of elements, and then from here, what should we do? Let's go ahead and just make this thing rotatable real fast. That is pretty simple. Head over here to your property list, and here's something that we've yet to talk about. So I'm just going to make a new dictionary, and be sure I set that to dictionary. There we go. Name this rotation controls. And I'll point out where to find all the various rotation controls in the documentation in just a moment, but there's really not that many just to get this kind of going right away. Put in here rotate, and you're going to set this to be an array. It actually could be a string too, I suppose, but then we're going to list out all the items that we want to rotate based on the user twisting their fingers on the screen. So with 2 touches, just kind of making that rotation gesture, and all we have to do is put in here Planet Core. There we go. Inside of our elements, though, we should just go ahead and put in here that we've got a one named Planet Core. Put in their dictionary, and if there's any other settings that for this planet core. We'll put them inside of here, but that's enough to get us started. And let's see what it looks like on the iPad Air. All right, and I paused the video and I fired this up for you, just so you don't have to watch me go through the first 2 pages. Waste your time. But here we go. It is rotating. By the way, if you do want to simulate this on the simulator, hold down the Option key, and that'll make it so you basically have kind of 2 fingers pressing down, and then you just got to kind of click down with the mouse. And of course, on the actual device, that's just a simple rotation gesture. And if you guys wanted to see in the documentation what the other controls are for rotating things, what you can do is as soon as you're at the documentation, just put in here, type in rotate without the E, and it should highlight itself in the special features. So you got tap and rotation controls. Click down on that, and let's scroll down a little bit. There they are, rotation gestures. So some of the other options you have are a multiplier. And by default, this is just going to be a kind of a 1-to-1 ratio with how much your fingers move. That's how much the object moves. But if you set that up to 2, then the object is going to move kind of double what your fingers are doing. But you can also set that as a negative as well. So if you had -1, that means that the planet core would rotate opposite of what your fingers are doing. And you even have in here you can put in here rotation control secondary. So basically 2 separate dictionaries and one with a different multiplier, and then you can list inside of here objects that are going to rotate opposite your fingers. So you can kind of get both going at once. Think about if you've had a whole page of gears and things like that, some of them would be rotating at a different rate. And then you could even include in here a dictionary full of events that fire every time somebody rotates. And that would include all of your various events, all these little guys over here. Any one of them is possible inside of there. So, but we don't need to do that. We've got it rotating. And obviously we should probably write something on here that says, hey, rotate this. But let's move on to adding in some text. I'm just going to kind of cheat my way through this and copy in some of the text that we've already got. So we don't have to kind of set it back up from scratch. I like the size of that, and I like the font. So I'm just going to paste this on in. It is going to paste in the movement I have in there, though. So I'm going to get rid of that. And we'll just put this right here, and then we can leave that just the name of this as line 1. Let's change the text though. We'll say this is the planet core. Not sure why planet and core is capitalized. Maybe we can fix that, and we'll make that, there we go, the planet's core. Yeah, it is a little big. Let's take it down to maybe 96. Perfect. All right. Put that over here. Let's copy this out. Change that to line 2. And we'll put, and it's GC center. I don't know. There we go. All right, now, how can we make it so that people can change this asinine text? What we're going to do is put in here an invisible button like we had on our menu page. So if you did want to, you could just copy that out. There we go, Planet Core button. It's just a sprite that has the alpha channel totally out of it. And let's paste that in. All right, so we got Planet Core button. And I suppose actually if you didn't want to go back and watch that video, I should probably make that from scratch. We'll just drag it out there. So we'll call this, how about, well, we got to put in here a custom class of element, and then go back over here. Let's call this keyboard button, because that's really what it does, is it opens up the keyboard so that you can edit that text. And we don't need to give it a texture. We do want to make it invisible, so set the opacity all the way down, and I'm going to set the Z position up to 20, just so that when I'm clicking around here, that's going to be the first thing that ends up getting clicked. Alright, so now we've got one keyboard button. Let's go ahead and copy this out, and we'll do another one right over here. And this will be keyboard button 2. And each one of them will open up the keyboard and alter its corresponding text. And again, don't forget your custom class of elements. So let's head over here to the property list, and I'm just going to copy this out. Oop, nope, don't want to do that. Fold it back up. There we go. Keyboard button. Unfold it now. And we don't have anything inside of here. So let's put in a touch event. Click the plus sign. So this will be touch event. Set that to dictionary. So again, it's just going to be for listing inside of here all the events that we want to occur when you touch that. And the first one's going to be, actually the only one's going to be open keyboard. So you've actually got an event called open keyboard, and this requires one just value inside of here. It's a string value, and what we're doing is just basically setting a value based on whatever the user enters inside of the keyboard. And the cool thing about this is this value actually gets saved with the app, so even if the app closes, that value is going to get retained. Technically it's an NS user default, so when the page opens back up again, any labels that associate themselves with that value are going to be whatever someone entered in the keyboard. And we just get to choose ourselves what this value name is. And let's just call it Planet Core Text 1. Okay, and then close that up, paste it back out, and just take that part out. So this is now going to be keyboard button 2, and then the touch event is going to open the keyboard and alter the text for Planet Core Text 2. Okay. All right, now we need to set up our labels dictionary. So go ahead and set this over here to dictionary. Rename this to labels, and even though our labels, we can't put a custom class in them, at least not currently with Xcode, there are things that we can do via the property list to adjust those labels that we currently have in there. And I'm going to unfold, or I'm going to add another item inside of here. The first label that we have in the scene is just named line 1, and it's going to be a dictionary. And by the way, I will just kind of remind you, it's this name right here, line 1. Okay, that's what we're referring to. And then we can override that default text by putting in that the text is going to be a saved value. So text with saved value. And that is just going to match the string here. Okay, so you can just go ahead and copy that. So anytime the book opens up, this line 1 is going to equal whatever has been entered in here previously for the Planet Core Text 1. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for line 2. There we go, Planet Core Text 2. And now we should be able to test this out. Okay, once you're here, click down, and you'll notice this opens up to enter in some text. And let's put in here, this is the Earth. Done. And you'll notice that changes. I'm going to have to quit this out to kind of demonstrate this properly. So let me just close that or stop that from running. Get it back open again. Click my way through here. Okay, and you'll notice now that I didn't have to re-enter it or anything. It is saved in there. Even on the simulator, it saves these NS user defaults. So there you have it. This is the Earth. And if I wanted to change that again, just click down on it, and I could put in here anything else. And you'll notice the second time around, it's actually filling in the text for me, because it's essentially recognizing that there is already a value saved for that, whereas before there really wasn't one. So another thing that you could do is in your events, And let me kind of unfold these so you guys get a better idea of seeing everything at once here. In your events, you can set values for these saved variables. So you can put in here set values, make this a dictionary, and then list out inside of here. So the key is going to be whatever value you want to set with its value in here. So we could set, so basically we're setting in here default text. So we could say this is the planet core ... And actually there's a little variation on this. This would kind of override what we just did. What we really want to do is set values if nil. So that means that if there wasn't previously a value set for our planet core text 1, we're going to use this. Okay, and then so the same thing for, let's say, and it's juicy inside. All right. And this way too, this would only run if there was not a previously set value for this, which there really isn't right now because I didn't go ahead and set a value down there for that second line of text. So when this builds again, we should see, and it's juicy inside, which I think is a little bit different than the text that I wrote in there by default. And I skipped you guys past the opening of it. So yeah, and there it is. Now it's got the ... and it's juicy inside as the default text. But yet again, I can now click down inside of here and alter this text. Changing the text via the simulator is a little slow going. And let's just type in, and it's center. There you go. So you could really make kind of a Mad Libs type book doing this. One thing you might want to consider is that a kid could, an older brother or something like that, could put in here any text, and then mom picks up the book and goes, "What? This app developer put this terrible text inside of this book." So you might want to put a button that says reset text to defaults to kind of remind people that, hey, whatever you're seeing in here is actually user contributed. So to do that, what we could do is, let's just copy out one of our existing buttons, put in here, rename it to reset button. Okay. And then for the touch event, instead of opening the keyboard, what we're going to do is set values. And you could just copy this in here, so just paste in set values. Now this time around, we don't want to use set values if nil. We want to just put in here set values. Okay, so that's going to then set those values. And here we are again, just putting in the defaults. Of course, we do need to put in that reset button. So go back over here to the planet core. And here, let's move this out of the way. And paste it on down here. Obviously, this is a bit too big if it's just going to be a subtle hint. Let's try 36 maybe. And close that out. Perfect. Let's call this reset prompt. Otherwise, it would have the exact same value as that. Slide it over a bit. So reset to default text, and then take this button, move it down here, and call it none other than reset button, and that should send our text back to whatever it was originally. So let's give this one last test. Stop the previous build. Okay, so come down here and click on it, and there it goes. It goes back to the original text again, and of course someone can continue editing it. All right, so one last little thing to wrap things up, and I did pause the video for a second to add in here just a little line of text to prompt people to play with the page and edit the text. If you want the style of the input text, that appears over here, to match your font, that's very simple, and I already kind of toyed with this. I'm just gonna hit undo and bring it back over here. What you can do is put in here an input text placeholder. So as long as you have any text in here with the name input text placeholder, what that's going to do is use the style of the text. All right, so whatever font you had, and then it's going to basically use the width of this, which is determined by how much dummy text you have in here, to figure out how, the style of the placeholder or the input text, and then also how wide that is. So in this case, I probably want to put this in here maybe twice even, so that this is probably that's probably about how much you want that input box to have width-wise, and then that's actually just about it. So keep in mind that you probably want to use a text that's a bit smaller than what you currently have over here, maybe about half. But if we were to run this now, you'll definitely see a noticeable difference. It doesn't change the color of it, at least not that I remember. Actually, it might even, now that I think about it. Okay, all right. Well, obviously that's about right for what we've got over here. So, and then of course, people can do exactly as they did before. Hit done, and there you have it. And of course, they can rotate it. You might even want to put in there a pan gesture to move the entire planet around, make that kind of a little surprise thing. And then let's go ahead and reset this back to the default. I think I moved that. There it is. Got to move it back down. All right, so there we go. A kind of Mad Libs style page.